You've heard of Brazil's carnival and Ukraine's beauty queens. But what if I told you the country with the most breathtaking women per capita isn't where you think? And its forests? So untouched. They still hide wolves, lynx, and ancient Slavic spirits. This is Belarus, Europe's best-kept secret. A land of fierce beauty, lost traditions, and wild nature frozen in time. What happens here will challenge everything you thought you knew about Eastern Europe. So buckle up. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Have you ever heard of Belarus like this before? Nestled between Russia and the heart of Europe, Belarus often flies under the radar. But for those who venture here, the country reveals a striking blend of natural serenity, cultural depth, and graceful people. Once part of the Soviet Union, Belarus is now an independent republic bordered by Poland to the west, Lithuania and Latvia to the north, and Ukraine and Russia to the south and east. Though landlocked and modest in size compared to its vast neighbor Russia, Belarus covers more territory than many other European nations, spanning around 27,600 square kilometers. With a population hovering near 9 million, Belarus enjoys a balanced population density that avoids the noise and congestion found in more urbanized countries. This contributes to the sense of calm that defines daily life here. The geography of Belarus is defined by flat landscapes, sweeping forests, and wide marshlands. In fact, nearly 40% of the country is covered in lakes and woodlands, giving it a deeply organic, untouched feel. There are no coastlines, no sprawling beach resorts, just pure, quiet land cradled between east and west. Historically, Belarus has stood at the crossroads of great empires and conflicts. For centuries, it was caught in the power struggle between Russia and Poland. Its borders were redrawn time and again by neighboring forces, including Russia, Austria, and Germany. During World War I, Belarus came under German occupation. After Germany's defeat, Poland seized parts of its western territory during a time of chaos and transition within the Russian Empire. Eventually, what remained of Belarus became part of the Soviet Union. Like many former Soviet states, Belarus declared its independence in 1991. Today, Belarus maintains close cultural and linguistic ties with Russia. Russian is widely spoken, and over 80% of Belarusians identify as Orthodox Christians, making it the dominant faith tradition. While Catholicism has a much smaller presence compared to many Central and Western European countries, the spiritual identity of Belarus remains strong and rooted in tradition. In everyday life, you'll hear a blend of Belarusian and Russian, though the overall linguistic footprint of these languages remains relatively limited outside of their native regions. Belarus is also known for the distinctive beauty of its people, especially its women. With predominantly Slavic features, fair skin, light-colored eyes, and tall frames, many Belarusians embody the classic image often associated with Eastern Europe. Women in Belarus, in particular, are known not just for their physical appearance, but for their attentiveness to self-care and graceful presence. Their reputation for beauty isn't a myth or marketing trick. It's something many visitors comment on sincerely. Beyond appearance, there's also a warmth in the way they engage with guests, a kind of openness that leaves a lasting impression. Traveling to Belarus is not only surprisingly easy, but also refreshingly accessible, even for spontaneous travelers. The capital, Minsk, is well connected to major cities across Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, with year-round direct flights ensuring that you can land in the heart of Eastern Europe without a complicated transit plan. But what truly sets Belarus apart is its visa policy. Visitors from most countries can enter visa-free for up to 30 days. This rare hospitality in today's travel landscape makes Belarus a particularly attractive destination for those wishing to explore without bureaucratic hurdles. If you're a frequent traveler, you'll be pleased to know the country allows up to 90 days of total stay per calendar year, divided into multiple visits if you wish. Still, there are important legal responsibilities to consider. If your stay in Belarus exceeds 5 days, the government requires you to register your place of residence. This process, though simple, is essential to avoid fines or complications later. Another important note, for non-Schengen travelers, you must have health insurance coverage for the duration of your stay. This isn't just an immigration formality, it's a legal safeguard. Since public health services do not cover foreigners, this insurance is critical in the event of medical emergencies. Fortunately, the cost is minimal, about €31 for a month-long visit and roughly €170 for an annual plan, especially considering the peace of mind it brings. For those drawn to Belarus beyond tourism, whether for employment, romance, or a long-term change of scenery, the country offers clear, if somewhat layered, pathways to residency. The two most common routes involve either family or work. Marriage to a Belarusian citizen allows you to live, rent, and eventually work in the country with greater legal ease. On the other hand, if you receive a job offer from a registered company that pays Belarusian taxes, you may be eligible for a residence permit based on employment. The latter path often accelerates bureaucratic processes, especially if the employer actively supports your transition. Either way, you'll need patience, as long-term residence applications require careful documentation and processing through a Belarusian embassy or consulate. Safety is a standout feature of Belarus, especially when compared with other countries in the region. While nightlife culture thrives, particularly in cities like Minsk, where bars, cafes, and dance venues come alive after dark, the streets are remarkably safe, public behavior remains courteous, and violent crime is rare. Even solo travelers often report feeling at ease walking through downtown areas late into the night. The blend of social openness and public order creates a unique environment where freedom doesn't come at the cost of security. Language presents both a challenge and an opportunity. In Minsk, you'll encounter many young people and professionals who speak English, especially in hospitality, tech, or education. But in rural areas or smaller towns, Russian and Belarusian remain dominant. Although both are official languages, Russian is more commonly spoken in daily life. For foreigners, even learning basic greetings or polite expressions in Russian can dramatically improve interactions and build trust with locals. Belarusians are known for being warm and generous, especially when visitors show an honest effort to engage with their language and culture. The country's drinking culture is another aspect that surprises many Westerners. Alcohol, particularly vodka and beer, is woven into social customs and family gatherings. It's not uncommon for drinks to be offered during casual dinners, celebratory toasts, or even neighborly visits. But rather than signaling excess, this culture reflects resilience, tradition, and connection. For visitors, it's important to approach these customs with both respect and self-awareness. Hospitality runs deep in Belarusian society, and those who show courtesy and an open heart are typically welcomed as friends rather than strangers. Tourism is playing an increasingly vital role in Belarus's economic landscape. While the nation still carries the industrial legacy of the Soviet era, it is steadily reimagining its identity through preservation, cultural tourism, and global outreach. Visitors come not only for the untouched forests and serene lakes, but to walk among Soviet-era monuments, Orthodox churches, medieval castles, and post-war architecture that echoes centuries of history. Many cities have retained their distinct Soviet character, yet there is a quiet evolution toward more modern, European aesthetics, particularly in urban infrastructure, design, and cultural expression. If you're planning a trip to Belarus, there's one thing you should prepare for in advance: cold weather. For much of the year, temperatures lean toward the chilly side, especially in winter. January can be particularly intense, with average lows dropping below -20 degrees Celsius. Because of this, many travelers prefer to visit during the spring or in early autumn, especially around September, when the weather is milder and the natural landscapes are at their most beautiful. Daily life in Belarus reflects both its Soviet legacy and its ongoing journey of development. The Belarusian ruble is the national currency, and while the minimum wage sits at around $170, most working citizens earn more than that. After deductions, the average monthly income ranges from about $450 to $700. In the capital city of Minsk, rent for an average apartment starts at roughly $400 a month. Utilities like electricity and water cost an additional $50 or so. These costs were significantly lower just a year ago, but global economic shifts, particularly the impact of the conflict in neighboring Russia and Ukraine, have led to a noticeable spike in prices. The arrival of migrants and rising demand for housing have pushed the local market to adjust quickly. Most apartments in Belarus are located in older buildings, many dating back at least 2 decades. While they may not offer modern furnishings, they reflect the practical and minimalist style that characterizes much of the post-Soviet region. Though the housing stock is aging, many of these buildings still carry architectural charm, offering a unique sense of place. Despite Belarus's natural beauty and warm-hearted people, the country is known for its strict public regulations. Visitors should be aware of the rules, especially in public parks and shared spaces. For example, walking dogs or riding bicycles in certain park areas is prohibited. Public drinking and smoking are also restricted in many parts of the city. These rules might seem strict to some, but they help maintain a sense of order and cleanliness that's noticeable across the country. One aspect that surprises many first-time visitors is the active enforcement of Belarus's legal codes. The country remains the only one in Europe that still implements the death penalty. This policy has often set Belarus apart from its European neighbors and remains a point of debate in international discussions. The legal system is firm on even smaller infractions. Littering in public parks, for instance, is taken seriously. Offenders can be fined, and in some cases, foreigners may even face deportation. The result, though, is a level of environmental cleanliness that's rarely seen elsewhere in Europe. Belarus's parks and streets are notably well maintained. While Belarus continues to develop economically, it stands out in one important area: the role of women in society. The majority of the workforce is female, and women hold positions across nearly every sector. Their contributions go far beyond cultural ideals of beauty. They are educators, engineers, medical workers, and factory employees, helping power the country's growth on a daily basis. In terms of industry, Belarus excels in agriculture, especially in dairy production. In fact, it's the leading dairy producer in Europe. Generations have grown up with access to fresh milk, cheeses, and yogurts, contributing to a generally healthy diet. Potatoes are another key feature of Belarusian life, so much so that the country ranks as the seventh largest producer of potatoes in the world. Belarusian cuisine showcases the potato in every imaginable form, with more than 300 traditional dishes crafted from this single ingredient. Belarus is a country shaped by the richness of its soil and the resilience of its people. Its strong agricultural foundation reflects the fertility of the land, an advantage that becomes even more meaningful in the face of potential global food shortages. Local farms, dairies, and homegrown produce play a critical role in national stability, helping ensure that food insecurity remains a distant concern here. When interacting with Belarusians, especially in everyday settings like cafes or markets, generosity is appreciated. Locals tend to value warmth over calculation, and gestures of openness, whether in conversation or in how you spend, go a long way in building rapport. Hospitality here is more than tradition. It's a reflection of pride and cultural identity. The job market, however, tells a different story. While women are highly visible across nearly all professions, education, healthcare, retail, administration, many Belarusian men seek employment abroad, especially in Russia or Western Europe. Low wages at home combined with rising living costs push them to find better opportunities elsewhere. As a result, remittances from abroad have become a vital support system for many families back home. This ongoing migration also explains a noticeable demographic imbalance. There are more than 1 million more women than men in Belarus. This contrast becomes particularly clear in urban areas like Minsk, where it's not uncommon to see public spaces and workplaces populated mostly by women. With a national population of around 9 million, such imbalances raise deeper questions about the country's future demographics. Preserving cultural and national identity will depend, in part, on efforts to grow and stabilize the population. For those considering a more permanent move to Belarus, cultural nuances can be important. Men may initially come across as formal and reserved, especially in professional or public settings. Women, on the other hand, often display a more open and supportive demeanor toward visitors. Still, one notable aspect of Belarusian society is the visible absence of extreme poverty. Unlike in some larger urban centers around the world, it's rare to encounter people living on the streets. If you do come across someone begging, chances are they're not native to the area and likely arrived recently from elsewhere. What also sets Belarus apart is its relatively inclusive social atmosphere. Racism is uncommon, and people here tend to be welcoming, especially toward foreigners who show interest and respect. This openness is reflected in personal relationships, too. Many Belarusians, especially women, marry individuals from other countries, and in many cases, eventually relocate to live with their spouses abroad. These cross-cultural bonds reflect a broader willingness to connect, share, and adapt. In the end, Belarus is more than just a land of stunning natural beauty. It's a country where tradition, modern life, and human kindness blend quietly but meaningfully. Whether you're exploring its forests, strolling through the quiet streets of Minsk, or getting to know its people, Belarus has a unique way of staying with you. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of Europe's most overlooked yet unforgettable destinations. If you've enjoyed this video or learned something new, don't forget to give it a like. Leave us a comment below with your thoughts or questions, and share it with someone who loves discovering hidden corners of the world. And, of course, subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on more stories just like this. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.